Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Bet.UK, where this weekend we're going to be looking ahead to the action at Kelso, Doncaster and Newbury. We're looking at these races in the company of Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount, who had a stellar weekend last weekend. To go through those results, they had Miss Nay Never, who placed at 8-1, tipped up by Andrew. Nuzret won at 7-2, tipped up by Daryl, as is Nap as well as Andrew. Teridian C placed at 9-2, tipped by Andrew. Solo won at 11-4, tipped by Andrew and Daryl. I don't know what I've written down there. Something placed at 4-1, tipped by Daryl. I have no idea what I've written down here. Can't read my writing. Our Power won at 11-2, tipped by Daryl. Kitty's Light also won at 7-4, tipped by Daryl. And Reboard won at 11-4, tipped up by Daryl. So very, very well done, lads. Plenty more of the same this week, please, because that was some going, my word. And we will begin at Kelso with the Cyril Alexander Memorial Novices Limited Handicap Chase. This is a 0-135 handicap chase for 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 5.5 furlongs at 1:15. 7 runners here, Daryl. So keep the winner's ball rolling, please, and find us the winner of this one.
Yeah, this is a tricky little race. I expected Sholocott Jack to be put in as a short price favourite for this. He won at Lingfield last time by 12 lengths. I backed and tipped Enzo Dairy in that race, and I was never happy with Enzo Dairy. He was never travelling a yard for the entire contest. He was always being niggled along away from his fences. He made plenty of mistakes. I thought the winning distance of 12 lengths actually flattered Sholocott Jack. He did win fairly comfortably, but like I say, I thought Enzo Dairy was definitely not on a going day. It was only a 3-runner race. Parliament Hill had dropped out early. Native Robin ran no sort of race. So I thought it was a bit of a muddling contest that he picked up. He's gone up £11 for that in a weight. So I think you can take him on. I wouldn't be taking a short price about him myself. I thought Bill Baxter might be the one to be with. This horse fell when behind mine and Andrew's winning tip on a de Jonc at Hereford, but I was always concerned about Bill Baxter throughout the race. He was jumping well, travelling really strongly, and it was just an unfortunate slip on the landing side of the fence that saw him go down. But prior to that, he had won here on heavy ground. The ground is probably a slight concern with him, but he has got some decent form going back to these bumper days at Newbury with the likes of he ran in that Newbury bumper behind No Risk at All, which has produced some fantastic horses that have gone on to do brilliant things. I Like to Move It, Gelino Bello, Might I. So he does come from that sort of crop. So I think there's scope in a mark of 128. So I think he could go very close. Castle Russian's definitely got a win in him, right? But he's slow as an old boat since he's gone over fences. He looks like he could be ripe for a Borders National or something. He doesn't jump very well, and that's his problem. He hasn't got the pace to get back in the race when he's been making these mistakes. It'd be interesting if he went off the front end, because I think he'd appreciate just galloping out on his own. And he's a relentless galloper rather than a quickener. But I think Bill Baxter's the one I want to side with here. Second favourite, around 4-1, I think.
You know why that Castle Russian doesn't jump well? He's a fame and glory. They hate jumping fences. They hate it. I don't know what's wrong with them. They just hate it. Yeah, Bill Baxter, though. So taking on the favourite Sholocott Jack with Bill Baxter for Daryl. Andrew, who are you siding with?
Yeah, not Castle Russian, who sort of seems to reserve his best for air, and he's had jumping problems since switched to fences, as you've talked about. Sholocott Jack.
Again,
Sholocott.
I'm saying, do you want another go?
Dan Skelton. He's not got the best record at Kelso. 5 winners from 30 runners, minus £50.31. So you'd lose over 50% on turnover in the back and blind. But it wasn't much of a race, as Daryl said, that he won at Lingfield last time. I'll go with Bill Baxter, just on the prices, and 4-1 seems fair enough. I know he fell last time out, but you look at his couple of runs before that, he's a course and distance winner as well. Not a race I wanted to have a bet in, though, but Bill Baxter for the purposes of this video.
Already in agreement. I said about switching this up, please, for the pair of you to agree. And we're already onto this one, for all that it wasn't an overly strong opinion by Andrew or the same. Hopefully I'll have more in this next race, because we head to Doncaster for a handicap chase for 5-year-olds and over 2 miles at 1:30. Only 6 runners here, Andrew. So who are you siding with this time?
Yeah, this is another tricky one as well. I mean, Pay the Piper, I thought, did pretty well to win at Musselburgh, because that 2-day meeting, it was really difficult to come from off the pace over fences and hurdles. He's come from midfield to pick up Fidelio Vallis, and Trouble is, he's up in class, so he's had 5 goes above class 3 level. He's lost them all. So prices 3 to 1 is probably about right. I think more interesting was Gold de Bois. His Kelso record on good to soft or faster going is second, first. The defeat by Nutswell. I'd rather have him than Calico here. And what price? Oh, he's the outside of the field, 14 to 1.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I say this is Doncaster, isn't it? I'm getting completely confused here. So I've just said he's a Kelso horse. I've got my Kelsos and Doncasters mixed up.
Bear in mind for when he goes back to Kelso, though.
Yeah, I'll go tentative on Pay the Piper, despite that Northern 5 record above class 3 level. But just because I was impressed with where he won that Musselburgh race from.
And I'm in total agreement with you about Pay the Piper here. Hopefully he can double up on that win from last time and defy the class angle trend that he has not been able to meet thus far. I thought it was super likeable, that win last time out. And Anne Hamilton's horses, just at that time at the start of February when he won, they just seem to have all been turning the corner. And you know when to follow that yard, evidently, when they all just start turning the corner together. And that was the Scottish Champion Chase last time out. And he was 4.5 lengths clear of the second, a further 15 back to the third. And like you say, Andrew, from where he came from in that race to be able to pull out that much of an advantage over his rivals, I thought was very taking and career best. And he still looks up to define £6 rise, which, to be honest, I thought was going to be worse than he really got. So Pay the Piper for the pair of us two, Daryl. Are you bolstering that or going against us?
No, actually, with Gold de Bois, the outside of the entire field. I haven't got a massively strong opinion. I thought Calico would be short enough on the back of that John Bon race last time. I thought people might latch onto him, and I thought the bookies might. It's interesting that Harry Skelton doesn't ride if he's extremely well handicapped off 137. Bridget Andrews is on, so I wouldn't. I expect him to be beaten here, to be honest with you. And people will start questioning John Bon then after the back of that, I think. But yeah, I can see your angle with Pied Piper. I just don't know if he's much better than a 142 horse, really. I just don't know how much he's got in hand carrying top weight off here. Giving a stone to Gold de Bois, who's had 2 cracking efforts here at Doncaster. 3-length defeat to Fernando Sivler and a 1-length defeat to Maylistic. I thought was really strong form considering he was going to be the outside of the field. He looks to have a bit of scope off the mark of 128, and I didn't think anything else in the race was well handicapped. So I thought 14 to 1 about him was more than fair.
Oh, okay, then the outside of the field, Gold de Bois at 14 to 1 for that pretty small runner race. Then for Daryl, right, it is a more battle hurdle up now. This is a handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles at 150 at Kelso. This is a race that if you win this and you also win at the Cheltenham Festival, you get that. It's a £100,000 bonus, is it still? That the Shunter managed to pull off 2 years ago by winning this race and then going to the festival himself. And the same team are attempting the same feat with McTeague this time around, and Emmett Mullins' runner is the 9-2 favourite. So Daryl, can the same team win this race again?
No, I think he's terribly handicapped, this McTeague. Like, he's rated 142 on the basis of what? Like, he's on the basis of a run in 02 where St. Donat's, granted, came out and boosted the form over there, but he ran poorly the next twice. I don't think he's well handicapped. I don't think this is one of Emmett Mullins' best pieces of work, if you like. How many of these, looking down here, how many of these do you genuinely think would have a chance at Cheltenham?
Oh God, in the nicest way, not to be rude. None.
I'm not far behind you. I'd say one.
Who are you going with? Not Tritonic or Cormier?
No, Colonel Mustard.
Oh yes,
I think he's got a massive chance here. He was third to State Man, beating 3 lengths in the county hurdle last year. Like, he was on the sharp end of the pace, like the entire contest that day. He's stuck on really well up the hill. He's gone over fences the last twice, and he's not one of these horses that hasn't taken to fences. He went through both his races, both very, very competitive races, with plenty of zest. I thought he was a big eye catcher behind El Fabiola. He didn't want to get anywhere near him. And then they've decided to come back over hurdles. But if you go back for his form last year, right, ignore the run at Aintree because they stuck a hood on for some reason there. But before that county hurdle run, he pulled miles clear at the DRF last year with Sir Gerhard and Free Stripe Life. That form of those in behind him is much better than what's in this particular race. He was very much undone in the kennel gate behind John Bon, being held up at the rear of the field. That was when they just dawdled round and John Bon just quickened away. Like, he did really well to finish second. Napper's Hill and I Like to Move It were behind him. If any of those two were in this race, Napper's Hill or I Like to Move It, running off a mark of 140, there'd be God-given certainties to win this. I think he's a cracking price at 6 to 1. I just hope he's shows what he showed last year. in the county hurdle, and I think he'd take well to beat him. Kieran Buckley claims 3 off. Mark 140 is more than fair. It's hard to push to say he hasn't got £5 or £6 in hand on those form. So, yeah, I think Colonel must have taken beating.
No, I like it. And a good mention for the GGCs there if they were in this race. God-given certainties. So we are captioning that. But Colonel Mustard then, good point, actually, I forgot about him. He's 20-1 for the county hurdle as well at this current stage. If Lorna Fowler is trying to attempt a double, we know what she can do with this horse. Feels weird that he's only an 8-year-old still. Anyway, but 6-1 then about Daryl's. Very, very bullish selection, Andrew. Can you follow that?
No, not really. Didn't particularly like the race. I wanted to be against Lotus Sud, the Skelton runner, not really because of the trainer's record at the track, but because he was flattered last time up. I finished in 3rd in that Kempton race. The first 7 came from midfield or further back that day. They just went too quick in front. And I think the winner, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th have all come out and been beaten next time. The second hasn't run since. So the form isn't worth much at all. Dear Marks, 3 from 3 right-handed, yet to win left-handed. That would be a concern for him. Cormier and Colonel Mustard, you're worried about them coming back from fences. Well, that's a universal negative. You do your absolute cobblers back in those, and the shorter the trip, the worse they do. They often sky their hurdles after jumping fences previously. 3 miles plus, you can kind of get away with it because they have a little bit of time to warm to it and get used to it again by the time the business end of the race arrives. But over 2 miles, it's an absolute desperate record. So yeah, I'd be looking to find something that's likely to be held up, and because since they've made this a handicap, it's gone to horses who come from off the pace. They tend to have a big field, go quite hard. So yeah, I'll be looking for a hold up horse on the day to bet in running. But yeah, I'm sitting this one out for the purposes of the pod.
It's not like they would have just chucked Colonel Mustard straight back over fence, though. He's had a 73-day break. You'd think they'd have schooled him and targeted this race, wouldn't you, for the last 7 years?
I mean, I looked at that thinking, horses who maybe only had 1 run over fences will do better return to hurdles. They don't. Horses have had a break, and had a chance, and again, they don't. So it's just, when you're talking about, just like, since COVID, about 1,000 horses have done it over sort of 2 miles, 1 or shorter over hurdles, and only 60 winners. And so you've done your absolute brains backing them. Doesn't there are some winners, but not as many as the market suggests there should be.
Well, like Rabood, only need 1.
Again, like we said last week with what was the Paul Nichols reward first time hoods over hurdles?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, again, that was a small sample. That was like 4 in Class 1 races. That was like 0 from 14. It was a small sample size, as I said. But this, you're talking about thousands of horses over the years, and it's not a positive angle.
Oh, so see if Daryl can defy the trends again then and pluck out that one that's going to defy it again. It'd be amazing if you could do that 2 weeks in a row then. And yeah, just that would be brilliant to see. Right, we're welcoming a new track now because we head to Newbury for a seniors handicap hurdle, which is a hurdle equivalent of a veterans chase. But this is a 0 to 130 handicap for 8-year-olds and over 2 mile 4.5 bellows at 210. And it's a Harry Darren trained Giorgio who heads the betting as the 7 to 2 favourite. But Andrew, which of these sort of old boys wins it?
Yeah, this is the first interesting race of the day after the dross we've been covering in our first few races. And again, veterans handicap chases, 10-year-olds the youngest, veterans sprints, 6-year-olds, with veterans hurdles, it's 8-year-olds. There aren't many of them. But if you bet every 8-year-old blind in these races, you made a profit of 11 winners from 61 bets, profit of 31.75. That's pretty impressive, given that sometimes there's multiple qualifiers. In this race, the 8-year-olds are 5 from 28 for a profit of £33. You've had a winner of 5 out of the 6 years this race has been going. The only winless year was in 2021, when you had 3 horses, 2 16 to 1 shots, a 25 to 1 shot, and the 25 to 1 shot was third. I think that was Champagne City. Now, only 4 of the 11 runners are 8-year-olds, so I'd certainly look at combining them in, tote exactas and trifectas. You'd have hit the 1, 2, 3 last year from 5 runners, with the 17 to 2 winner, 5 to 1 second, and 15 to 2 third. So you made a good profit. So Giorgio was the one I tipped up in Racing and Football Outlook on Monday, but I'm a little bit disappointed by the price. I'll go with the Milton Harris horse, Stimulating Song, who chance wouldn't be obvious, but he's had a wind operation since we last saw him. And first run in a tongue tie, he won. First run in a hood, second by a neck. So first run after a wind up, maybe he can bounce back to something like his best. And but yeah, I'll be backing all 4 of them though, all the 8-year-olds.
Okay, going for the younger horses in this race, all 8-year-olds, but 25-1, the outsider of the field, about stimulating song for the purposes of this podcast. Anyway, Daryl, who you sided with?
Yeah, the 8-year-old angle is very much respected. I'm going to side with Bold Plan though. I thought he went through his race at Uttoxeter last time with, excuse me, with plenty of zest. He hadn't shown that before then, and he does tend to come good the second half of the season. I think this might have been the target for him. He won this race last year. He's a couple of pounds higher now. And yeah, there was just something about his performance. He's really eye-catching off the pace. He was given far too much to do, but it was just the way he jumped and travelled. It was in complete contrast to a couple of starts ago when I backed him at Foss, or last start at Foss where he sort of travelled and cut out. Whereas this time he was galloping all the way to the line. He was well beaten, don't get me wrong, but he was given so much to do when the race turned into a sprint that he was never going to get involved. But he just jumped beautifully, travelled. He was travelling strongly in Isabel Williams' hands, and he didn't do that at Fosslas. So I'm going to give him a chance back here at Newbury.
8-1 about Bold Plan, and back at Newbury. Now back to the other end of the country and up to Kelso for the Grade 2 Premier Novices Hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 furlongs at 225, and it's that man Emmett Mullins again at the head of the market here with Ferranilli, but it's a very open contest. So who are you siding with here, Daryl?
The outsider of the entire field, which is another Lorna Fowler horse, which is Banjaxed. This race, right? You've only. This is like a Grade 2, but it's not. It's not really. I mean, like you only need to really run to about 132-ish to sort of win this. I initially wanted to back Colonel Harry, but I was worried that his last 2 runs have been quite hard on him, and he had to pull out all the stops last time in a much lesser graded race. And I don't know if that Tolworth run has left a bit of a mark on him because he went so hard from the front that day. He was well worth an upgrade, but it just looked like it left a mark on him last time. Ferranilli, the favourite.
I know. I keep doing the same. I don't know why I can't like just say it as one word.
The favourite is obviously making hurdle debut. Obviously, like I said, needs to run to 132-ish on hurdle debut. Could well do that. Could be. We don't have a clue really what this horse could be. His point to point form, he won by 10 lengths, so we know he can jump, but there's nothing really of substance in that, to be honest. And his finishing effort wasn't the best at Leopardstown and DRF last time. He's there because of Emmett Mullins, isn't he? That's the only reason he can be favourite. So making your debut, I don't know, Andrew might know the stats about making your hurdle debut in a Grade 2. I can't believe there'd be many. But anyway, Banjax, the outside of the entire field. Yeah, this was ridden under hand and heels at Navan 20 days ago. Had everything in the field off the bridle, but just was nudged out. It was like Kieran Buckley was teaching him, because it was his first start over hurdles there. And I just thought it was a really, really good performance for a horse that never jumped, hadn't had a point-to-point in his background, hadn't jumped a hurdle in public. I thought he jumped well, travelled strongly, and not at one point was he asked. I mean, it looked like Kieran Buckley was waiting for Paul Townend to come by on Hoy Malord, who had to pull out a fair few stops, more than I suspect they thought he would have to at 1-3 to get up and win the race. And he did run out a comfortable winner, but like I say, Banjax second was not pushed out at all, really, just hand and heels riding. He's got quite a big nice piece of bumper form at Fairyhouse on his debut when he ran on really strongly at the finish. There's a couple of horses in there rated like in the low 120s, and he's entitled to needed his run at Fairyhouse in January because he had a year off the track. He must have had an issue, but I just was quite taken with the performance at Navan, and he's completely unexposed as the favourite is, and he's a 33-1 shot or 25-1 shot as the outside of the entire field. And like I say, you don't need to run up to more than 130 to win this. So I thought I'd take an each way chance, and if he can run up to the high 120s or mid 120s, he might grab a place. So Banjax will do for me.
You're all on the Lorna Fowler bandwagon this weekend up at Kelso, Daryl. I totally agree with you about Colonel Harry. I adore this horse. After his run, though, on his penultimate start in Matolworth, I thought, well, there's my EBF final winner. and then he went and won his novice. I was like, okay, he can still go back to Sandown though. This will still be fine. I think he wants to step up and trip, and I still think he wants softer ground. And then he goes and appears here, and then he's probably going to run at the festival and just get run out of it. And he was my EBF final horse. So I'm fuming. But anyway, he's here. I hope he runs well. I love him. Andrew, who do you like?
Not many of them, to be honest. Most of these make the running or have done in one of their last 1 or 2 starts. So it could be a case of there'll be a sort of strong pace and something can come from off the pace and pick up the pieces. Maybe the skeleton runner, Holy Smoke, who has caught the eye in 2 runs over hurdles, for his current yard. Both times at Chepstow, both times when given a patient ride, and both times behind an all-the-way winner. And when he was 3rd last time, I think the winner, the 2nd, the 4th were all prominent throughout. He only got beaten a little over 3 lengths. I wasn't sure whether it was, sort of getting him handicapped, but here he is in this weak grade 2 contest. On official ratings, he's got a bit to do, but I thought, given the way the race is likely to be run, Holy Smoke, each way around about 8-1. But again, it's not a race that I'm particularly confident or thrilled about having about him.
Not thrilled about. No, nice way to put it. 8-1 though. We'll take that at this stage anyway. Now,
is he all right this week, Kate? Is he all right?
Well, it's not good. I mean, it's always the same with this weekend, isn't it? Because all the best horses have been kept back for Cheltenham or even Aintree, and you're kind of scratching around trying to find something worth betting on, and some very sort of dodgy fields are in.
Oh, yeah, we are in limbo at the minute, but we're just checking in on you just to make sure you are okay, Andrew. I'm sure you'll be in brighter spirits and you'll be revitalized next weekend next week when we have our Cheltenham.
Saving the enthusiasm for Cheltenham.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. We will anticipate that greatly. Now, we definitely have a better betting heat in our next race. This is the Great Wood Gold Cup handicap chase, a premier handicap for 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 4 at 2:45 at Saturday at Newbury. And you're not deserting. What is he going to go here, Daryl? Your boy, as I'm now dubbing him, Xander. Market. Is he going here? Or is he going to Kelso? And are you siding with him?
I don't know.
Here, first preference.
First preference.
Where is Kelso's first preference?
Newbury, did you say?
Newbury. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if they came here. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't run him here. This is where he wants to run, isn't it? No, I am. I'm off him now. Look, yeah. Well, look, I want to back him when he's 33-1, and no one, wants to back him. But when he's like the cat's out the bag, isn't it? As such.
Yeah. Before he was cool. But
look, he's very much respected. Of course, he is. The drop back and trip, I'm not overly enthusiastic about. Obviously, he's carrying 12 stone. I mean, I don't know how big he is, but he doesn't look the biggest horse to be lumping around a big weight. Yeah, and obviously Paint the Dream is second fav, and he's got a fantastic record at this venue as well. He's a 160 horse around Newbury. So, and this is his trip. So no, I was gonna side with Sebastopol actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got an excellent record on the back of a break. We haven't seen him since November. He's won 5 times off the back of a break. He won here last time, beating Stage Star, which has obviously worked out quite well. Whether or not that was Stage Star's running, we don't know. But he's getting plenty of weight, and he is a strange horse because he's never really been in a chase against the top sort of top handicappers, and I've always sort of wondered how he would get on. But this is absolute optimal conditions for him. 2 mile 4 at Newbury, getting weight off. It's not often he'll find races off 147 where he's going to get nearly 12, 13 pounds off horses. So I think this is a good bit of placing by Tom Lacey, and I think he's got a squeak, But he will need sort of Paint the Dream and Zanza sort of underperform, I would suspect, but he's definitely got every chance at around 13-2. I thought that was more than fair.
Yeah, you called him a strange horse. You know why he's a strange horse?
Yeah, confused about it, didn't you?
Oh, 32 though. We'll take that. Fame and glory. Ugh. Yeah, but no, Sebastopol, at least he knows how to win and get his head in front. Andrew, who are you siding with?
Yeah, I've bet a funny one. I've bet the Big Bite, which you might laugh.
He's by Scorpion.
Yeah, I know he's a complete fruitcake, but he's got the cheek pieces on for the first time, which we've seen with Scorpions before, like with Mike Bite, that first time headgear angle has worked. And because he ran in this race 2 years ago behind Umbrigado, he finished third of 14 that day. When he was rated 146, and he runs up 135 here. There's obvious reasons he's 11 pounds lower. He's not won in that period, and he's a 10-year-old now. But given that he likes good ground, and you look at his record on this sort of going, the last time he had it, he was second to Funambule Civiller at Doncaster. That was in late January last year. And a couple of times before that, like I said, it was good ground when he was third in this race. So he goes well at this time of year. He likes the ground. The cheap pieces might help. And 33 to 1 with the firms who were paying 3 places, even though there's only 7 runners, I thought you might run well. I mean, I've tipped Paint the Dream in Racing Football Outlook. It's 3 from 3 over fences is this venue. Zanza we know all about, and he loves Newbury. So you kind of, and you look at those two combined odds of even money that Zanza or Paint the Dream wins, and so there's not a lot of juice elsewhere really. So it's a difficult race to have a confident bet in, because when you're having a bet, you're generally looking for a weak favourite to oppose, and the favourites here aren't weak; they're rock solid. So I'll go for the big bite each way to small stakes, just in the hope that he can outrun his odds.
No, 25 to 1 the outside of the field. I used to ride him every day, Bitey. He was great. I loved him. He was such a weirdo.
He's a complete fruitcake, isn't he, basically?
Oh yeah, he was like the easiest ride for 99% of the time, and then he'd just bury you for no reason. And he was he's a scorpion through and through. But I weirdly loved him, and I'd love to see him run well. He's an old boy now, 10 years old. God, that makes me feel even older. I'm taking him on though. Such is the sentiment that I have for him that I'm siding with Gemirande here at 11 to 2. So we're spread across this field. Hopefully he can continue his progression. I love the way he jumped last time out. It meant he was able to just control the race on the front end. He's probably not going to get to do that here, but he just never looked in doubt last time out anywhere. He pulled 5.5 lengths clear of the second, admittedly with a £3 claimer on his back. So with the £6 rise, he's effectively £9 worse off here with Charlie Deutsch taking the ride this time around. He has proven himself on a sound surface, and he looks a progressive type to my eye with more to offer. So Gemirande, he's still just touching that each way price at his current price, and I will happily stick with that. Now we're off to Kelso next for a 0 to 145 handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 5 at 3 o'clock. Certainly is an open contest. So Andrew, who are you siding with?
I'm going to go with Nell's son here for Nicky Richards, who was a winner on this card last year. That was when 16 to 1 in the Premier Novices hurdle. Won narrowly that day on soft ground. His only other Kelso run resulted in a win on good ground, so he's 2 from 2 here. He ran respectably, I thought, behind Hackaday Plus at Cheltenham last time in the on trials day, the handicap hurdle that closed the card, finishing 6 of 15, and he was a 16 to 1 shot that day. And so he's had wind surgery. If that brings about some improvement, then 6 to 1 seems a fair price about Nelson.
Oh, Nelson, okay, nicely wrapped up. 6 to 1 then about Nelson, second in. Daryl, who'd you like? Oh, apologies. Sorry, I got you just mid-cough. Sorry, I thought you were just having a moment of reflection there, and then realised I actually can't hear you coughing. That's why.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going with a similar sort of angle as Andrew. Actually, the run in the on this card last year, and it's with Donny Boy, who was brought down in that race. I thought he was sticking on well behind Nelson. Obviously off level weights there, he was brought down. I think he's a fair bit ahead of his handicap mark. I don't know why I can't speak now.
I can't speak today. I don't know
what's contagious. We've all got it.
Yeah, what's happening to all of us?
Yeah. Anyway, that was off level weights. He's getting £10 off him here. First time after a wind up. Lorcan Williams on. He goes well here at Kelso. He won by 14 lengths in his bumper here. I think double. He can't be 14 to 1.
Yeah,
sure.
14s.
Really?
That's
too
take
big.
It and run.
That's too big. That's far too big. That
or scary too big. Are you concerned too big, or are you delighted too big?
No, I'm delighted. This is me delighted. Yeah, he can be a little bit free, but he's back from obviously chasing back over hurdles. I think it'll suit him. The track's fine, the ground's fine. I think he's got a big chance of 125. So I'm going to go and back him actually in a minute.
I was going to say, we will not be seeing that 14-1 again,
No.
because we're going to leave you to it for a second to go and press the button a few times to take advantage of that 14-1. Nice to have known that he was 14-1 at one stage anyway, as this podcast goes out. Donny Boy then for Daryl. Now we have another handicap chase up now in the form of the Grimthorpe handicap chase of 5-year-olds and over 3 mile 2 at 3:15 at Doncaster, where Cooper's Cross heads the betting in a bid to double up on his Sky Bet chase win from last time out. And I think he's going to double up, because he really looked to appreciate the step up in trip to 3 miles properly for the first time since his pointing days last time out. So he was fitted with the first time cheap pieces as well, and it was just very convincing for all that his nearest challenger fell, but he still looked as though he had the race in safekeeping at that point, in my opinion anyway. And he remains like your race form was evidently boosted by the eventual second, Captain Ord, going out and winning the Ascot race on his next start. And there was enough expectation for Captain Ord, I think, on that day anyway, and he was foiled by Cooper's Cross. So cheap pieces fitted again. Hopefully he can defy the £5 prize. Cooper's Cross for me. Daryl, who do you like?
Yeah, he's hard to sort of take on, I guess. Cooper's Cross. He did actually run 3 miles last year at Newcastle. I got back.
Yeah, was that just shy? I was counting it as just shy, so I could get the 3 mile claim out there, basically.
Very true, very true. Because I backed him that day, and he shaped like a bit of a non-stayer, and I thought, what? It didn't make sense on his previous runs over 2 and 2.5.
Improve, yeah.
Yeah, so like it was good to see him win. Obviously at Doncaster, I thought you won with a good bit in hand. I'm just going to give another chance though to under supervision. He was behind him that day, but I definitely thought he was sticking on before he was forced to unseat after Garlaw, I think it was, fell in front of him. He's just a grinding horse. So this track tends to suit him. He's got quite a good record here. Obviously, he won this race last year. But he's just, this long home straight just helps him grind over his fences and grind and grind and grind. He has got no pace whatsoever. But there is definitely a pot in him off a mark of 132. He might end up following home Cooper's Cross again, but I definitely think he'll be in the places at 7-1. So we got 8 runners at the minute, so 3 places.
I'm running off the same mark as his win in this race last year as well, so 7-1 might just look a big price and about him to go back and do what he did last year. Andrew, who are you siding with?
It's really tricky, this, isn't it? Only 8 runners, but you can make a case for pretty much most of them. One stat in this race that often comes to the fore is last time out winners aged between 8 and 11. 7 winners from 24 this century. Profit of almost £25 to £1 level stake. 2 qualifiers, the favourite Cooper's Cross and Castle Robin, who won from the front at Sandown last time out. I thought Castle Robin could go well under Brian Hughes. He is a course winner on his, I think his only visit, or certainly his last visit to Doncaster. He won here. I mean, does he know down in grade after that third to Zanza? The Denman chase, you can make a case for him under supervision, as Daryl said, last year's winner. It's just really tricky. I'll go Castle Robin just because he's got the prominent style I like for Doncaster. He's a last time out winner. He fits the he fits the stats. But yeah, you could sort of have 4 here and still not be sure of finding the winner.
Castle Robin, though, for you at this stage, 5-1 at present. And our final scheduled race is a listed Premier Chase with 5-year-olds and over 2 miles 7 at 3:35 at Kelso, where Zanza, he appears again here, whether or not he goes. But there's 5 declared runners anyway, so it's still an intriguing race with the runners that we have. For all it's a small field. So Andrew, who are you siding with?
Yeah, I'm sort of looking forward to seeing Lemilos run again, having improved for the switch from Tim Vaughan to Dan Skelton, winning twice, including, of course, the Cole Gold Cup handicap at Newbury last time out from remastered. Being freshened up since. Won't mind whatever the ground is, and interesting they've sent him all the way. Given his banger win, you'd think sharp left-handed track's not going to be a problem. Zanza, we assume he's going to run at Newbury. I'm guessing, won't run here, so there could well be a hefty rule fall on the prices we're talking about now. Wishing and hoping, good old boy that he is, won the Veterans Final at Sandown last time, but he was flattered from the front that day, and I don't think he's going to be able to repeat that. Empire Steel, the Sandy Thompson yard's got a little bit quiet at the moment after their usual good spell over the winter, so it looks between the front 2, which isn't particularly helpful if you want to have a bet in the race. I'll just go Lemilos over the shunter, but no strong opinion. No,
exactly. It's a tricky race way up at this stage, let alone then on the day itself. Now, Daryl, you don't have a Lorna Fowler runner in here, but you do have an Emmett Mullins one. So you're trying to take this one on, or are you siding against again?
Yeah, no, I'm with the Emmett Mullins one.
Oh, there you go. What a turnaround.
Yeah, I think he's got a fantastic chance. He's the best horse at the weights here. He's back over fences for the first time since running the Galway Plate back in July. His form in defeat over fences is far stronger, I think, than that Coral Cup, that Coral Trophy win by Lemilos, who sort of, I thought he clung on that day, to be honest with you. I think the smaller field will help the shunter. I just think he's by far the better horse. Like, he's getting £4 from Lemilos. I don't know what the record is, Andrew, for Coral Gold Cup winners next time out. Is it a good one?
The last 50 all won next time. You make a fortune.
Oh my God.
No, I just made that up.
I thought you meant that then. What?
Find yourself a database and work it out yourself.
No, because I remember the Cloth Cap won this race a couple of years ago, didn't he? After winning that race. Is that right? I don't know if I'm right there or not. Anyway, the shunter, he's an Irish horse. Back the shunter.
Okay. Well, we're sticking on the Irish theme at least anyway. No Lorna Fowler, but we'll stick with Emmett Mullins as the shunter in that Premier Chase listed race. Daryl, anything from anywhere else?
Oh, don't know why I'm caught by surprise again.
Daryl, I'm completely used to this with the pair of you two right now. Andrew, by the way, you have your nap coming up in the next question. Just to give you a heads up, that is coming.
Oh, I had something written down. I've lost it.
Do you want to come to me first and then come back to Daryl?
Yeah, come back to me.
He's too busy pressing the 14 to 1 about Donny Boy right now to be figuring out where he's at. Andrew, what have you got?
Yeah, and the 325 at Newbury Master Dancer talked about that No Ordinary Joe race at Kempton earlier on, where the first 7 came from midfield or further back and were, have not been running well since. In that race, Master Dancer was a 7-2 shot. He was prominent, pulled up after racing prominently, hated the soft ground, so I thought he could bounce back in that race. And at Lingfield in the 231, Giorgio Vasari for the Ivan Furtado yard. Basically, at Lingfield at the moment, you don't want to be anywhere near the inside. That's putting front runners at a disadvantage because they migrate to the inside rail. It's putting low-drawn horses at a disadvantage because they might try to challenge on that rail. So Giorgio Vasari, drawn 6 of 8. He's got pace on his outside, 7 and 8. It should be a strong pace. He can just switch wide, come down the middle of the track, and pick up the pieces late.
Oh, okay, then a couple then for Andrew.
Sorry, one more. Matata in the 4 o'clock at Newbury. Yeah, we were talking about this before we came on air. Matata tends to jump to his left. Ridiculously, they ran him at right-handed Wincanton last time. Even more bizarre was the fact he went off at 13-8 favourite. What happens? He runs out after jinking to his left. So Matata going left-handed again is going to suit him.
Okay, perfect. So there's 3 to go forward for Andrew. Daryl, have you found your name?
No.
Okay. And you'll catch it in your blog anyway. If you go back and find it, then do stay tuned for Daryl's blog. You can find all of its best bets for Saturday within that. So Daryl, I'll go back to you, please, for your nap.
Oh, it's an Irish horse, Kate.
Which one is it? Colonel Mustard?
Do you know what? I think it is Colonel Mustard. Yeah, it's either Colonel Mustard or the Shunter.
Oh, okay. Between those two.
Colonel Mustard with the pro cush at Kelso.
Colonel Mustard be the map. Yeah, Colonel Mustard. Good price.
Can we make our own Cluedo, racing Cluedo? This would actually be amazing if we could get to do that. Andrew, any other puns or naps for us, please?
I'll go with Giorgio Vasari at Lingfield, the 231, what I was just talking about.
Like it a lot. And I will go Cooper's Cross because I think he's a solid favourite in the 3:15 at Doncaster, the Grimthorpe Chase. So that is everything from us on this week's show. Thank you to Daryl and to Andrew for all of the hard work as per ever. Thank you to Bet.UK for their sponsorship. None of us can speak today. Thank you to you for watching, and we'll be back with you next week. Hopefully we'll be able to talk next week, but do catch up with us then.